Hello and welcome to another K6 Office Hours. I'm Nicole van der Hoeven, and today I'm with two of my awesome colleagues. I'll let you introduce yourselves. How about you first, Mark?
Hey everyone, my name is Mark Meier. I'm the product manager for K6 here at Grafana Labs.
And hey everyone, I'm Simon. I'm the engineering manager for the K6 Frontend team here at Grafana Labs.
Awesome. So we're a day earlier than we normally are for office hours. That's because we have a kind of planned company shutdown day tomorrow, but we have some awesome news that we really had to talk about this week. Mark, what is that news?
That we have released Grafana Cloud K6. It is the K6 Cloud experience right within Grafana.
I'm going to play this little video just so we're all on the same page about what it is, and also because I made it and I like it.
It's a good video.
Oops. Maybe. Hang on, let me try figure this out.
Technical challenges.
Can you hear it?
No?
Well, that's not great. I was going to go and play this nice video and then I can't even do that.
You just
All
need
right.
to do your commentary over the video while it's silent.
Yeah, I'm like saying what I actually said in the video. Well, that's kind of crappy, but I'm still going to do it anyway. So this is Grafana Cloud K6. We are. Can I play this? It's not even moving. Oh, this is a little frustrating, but I do have this video anyway. I posted it onto the YouTube channel. Let's just talk about what Grafana Cloud K6 is. It is a new unified experience between Grafana and K6, specifically the cloud components. Previously, Grafana Cloud K6, Grafana and K6 integrations were not as seamless. You'd have to have two different accounts, one in Grafana Cloud and another one in K6 Cloud. And so there was always a little bit of jankiness about connecting the two together. So Grafana Cloud K6 is a way to have both of them in the same place, Grafana Cloud. But let's maybe talk about the history of like how we got there in the first place. We got acquired in, was it 2021? Or was it
It's
20?
2021.
Yeah, it was 2021. It's been a while, hasn't it? And I remember that when we got acquired, we already had some integration with Grafana because we had already been using it internally. The first one was the K6 data source plugin. Do you remember that, Simon? I think we had you in to talk about that.
Yeah, so we had this data source plugin which allowed a user to kind of query the K6 testing data within Grafana Explorer and to also draw kind of charts and testing data in your dashboards. It also packed pre-built dashboards for looking at your tests and thresholds and whatnot. Yeah, and then we kind of moved on to kind of the next iteration of the project in building what's called a app plugin, which is really kind of I guess you could see it as an embedded kind of web application within the Grafana instance. So you've got kind of natively built UIs. You have also a data source, so you can query kind of from Grafana Explorer and render charts and testing data in your dashboards, but also have customized kind of views in this app, embedded web app in Grafana. So like make more customized views and kind of customized navigation and tailor the view and UI for kind of that specific part of Grafana.
So to go back to the K6 data source plugin, I remember when we first got it at the around the acquisition date, you had to like go to K6 Cloud, get the API token, flip back to Grafana, and then put it in. And well, you had to install the data source plugin to begin with, and then get the API token. And then even then, there were some panels for it and it was really view only. It was like you couldn't really, and you couldn't start a test or something. It was purely one way. Anything that was run in K6 Cloud would go to Grafana. There was another way, though, that we did already have, which was Prometheus Remote Write for OSS and cloud stuff. That was the cloud integration, was like a cloud APM thing on K6 Cloud that would output to Prometheus through Prometheus Remote Write. And then the OSS one was like you'd have to use Telegraph to forward results to Prometheus. In short, it was kind of kind of complex. It was there, it worked, but there was a lot of manual setup.
Right. I guess another way to just characterize it is that people go through great lengths to get their performance testing data with their observability data. Like, it makes sense to put it together. And we've kind of known that not only from the start when we joined Grafana, but even going back to the very early days when K6 was called Load Impact. And I was helping customers at that time. We had an integration with like New Relic at the time, and people wanted to they want to get metrics from, we had server monitoring agents. Like, it made a lot of sense. And I feel like this is that extension from the beginning there, that, hey, we want to combine this data so we can learn more about our systems during these experiments that we're running.
So how did we get from there to the next iteration in 2022, which was called the Grafana K6 Cloud app, which is
Grafana
super
Cloud
confusing.
K6.
No, the 2022
right,
one.
right.
See, this is confusing, right?
It is, yeah.
It is.
So we had it was an app. We actually had Edgar come on office hours to talk about it. And this was a jump from a data source to an actual app that had a lot more of the functionalities of K6 Cloud. It started to kind of look like K6 Cloud. And Simon, correct me if I'm wrong here, but was it the basics of what is now called Grafana Cloud K6?
Yeah, it's kind of the bootstraps, or like the scaffold for this project that we have now recently shipped, which is the Grafana Cloud K6. I guess it kind of built the foundation for what we have now. So like in that version of the app, you could kind of navigate the tree of objects of your kind of projects and tests and look at the results. You had some out of the box kind of test result visualizations for HTTP, like tests generating HTTP traffic. You could also configure a test and kind of change it via the in-app script editor and run tests. But yeah, it had some kind of fundamental problems that made it a little bit difficult to get up and running for customers. So that's one of the kind of big things that we've addressed now with this version or this new project now. Yeah, so like previously in that version, it kind of required, like you mentioned in the beginning, it required two separate systems, right? And two separate accounts. So like one account in K6 Cloud and one account in Grafana Cloud. Then you had to configure API token. But once everything was up and running, you could get the kind of the basic stuff done. And now in this iteration and version, to get up and running with your performance testing, it's as easy as just one click button, which is fairly amazing, I think.
Well, why don't we jump into the demo, Mark?
Sure. And I guess just one other comment to add there. I feel like that first version of the app was, hey, we were saying that we can do an app plugin. We want to make the data source. We want to do something better than the data source plugin. And we kind of went out and did that on our own. And then this most recent version was kind of a more thoughtfully planned way to approach the problem. And we realized, right, we need to start again and start from scratch. And that's what we're ultimately outputting. Yeah, let me share my screen. I see Marie yelling at me.
Yeah, I think like the first like couple of projects that we had integrating with the Grafana Cloud was really like testing the grounds of integration and like what is the potential to integrate the kind of highly powerful and complex K6 Cloud product, bring that into the Grafana UI and kind of integrate into that. Yeah.
Awesome. I'll bring you your screen in, Mark.
Yeah, let's go for it. All right, so I'm gonna, in case there's somebody that doesn't know what K6 is, I'm gonna start from the beginning a little bit, how I like to describe it to our users and other people within Grafana that don't know about it. So K6 is, where did the video go?
Oh, it's still there, but I thought you were just talking, so.
Oh, no, yeah, throw me off. I got my other screen. So K6 is a performance testing tool, and our focus when building K6 is we want to focus on the developer experience. And we know that developers are opinionated. They like certain things. So when we built K6 from the beginning, it had to be written in a real programming language, and we chose a programming language that most people know, JavaScript. And we use a very vanilla version of JavaScript, and most things you want to do in K6 you can do with our scripting APIs. So I guess let's tell the story here, how I see a lot of people use K6. I have this test script here. It's for the service that I'm maintaining, productrec.js. And I need to test it for whatever reason. Maybe I'm making changes to it. Maybe this recommendation service that I'm maintaining, it's like a Google of recommendations. We know exactly what you're going to want to buy based on some data. So that's my job. I maintain this service. In order to test this thing, I have some other dependencies. I work with some other colleagues. A team
Could you Zoom, by the way?
Zoom? Oh, you sound like Samuel. I hope he's listening.
That was actually Danielle who said that in chat.
Oh, him too. So, right, where was I? So I'm responsible for the recommendation endpoint. I work with another coworker, maybe Simon. He's responsible for returning all of the products that we carry, all of our SKUs, all the information there. So I maintain my service, and because Simon also uses K6, he maintains his service. So everything is code. I import his test script, his JavaScript file into my test. I need to use it, saves me time. I trust he maintains his stuff, and I maintain my stuff. Also import some functionality. I don't know, maybe we have a more central team, developer experience team, platform team, some type of performance engineering team, whoever they may be. They've seen that across their entire engineering organization, we have people that need to do common things, need to get random items or generate this UUID. So they provide that out to me. I'm going to skip down and speed this up so we don't go through the script line by line. And the good stuff is really what's happening here in our default function. So I'm going to get a random product from Simon's endpoint. Thank you for providing me the products. I'm going to generate a session ID, and I make a GET request here. So I'm passing the base URL from an environment variable and then dynamically parameterizing the product and the session ID. I tag this URL since this URL would be dynamic and we don't want unique URLs. And I run a check, and that's it. I'm just hammering this endpoint. So if you're using K6 today, you could run this test script. You could run it locally. You could run it in what we call K6 Cloud, I'll say the legacy version of our cloud. So I have K6 installed here. And again, K6 run would let us run that test script locally. And I could do so right here on the command line. So I could start that. K6 runs locally. I'm going to interrupt that quick before something happens. And that gives us output right here to the command line. I could take this test script, and if I wanted to send results to the cloud because I'm running behind the firewall, I can add -o cloud. Or I can change my argument to K6 cloud, and then this would run in our cloud. So before I run this, I want to call out, this is the same way you'd interact with K6 today with app.k6.io. This, I'm authenticated against Grafana Cloud. So now when I run K6 Cloud, we seamlessly work with Grafana Cloud. So what's happening now, we're uploading that test script to the K6 backend. All the dependencies required. We'll take that archive, unarchive it, see what load zones are required, see what the configuration says, and start deploying the test. And I guess the difference here, instead of saying app.k6.io, here's this demo environment in Grafana Cloud that I like to use.
So, Mark, this is actually news to me. I didn't realize that we had also changed that endpoint to be able to authenticate with Grafana Cloud. Is it the same way? Would you just do K6 Cloud login, except you're doing it with the Grafana
token
stuff?
With a token. So we're going to encourage people stop using. I don't know how many people use their email and password there, but it's not the best way to authenticate. So we're going to encourage people to use their API token. And we know if you're a Grafana Cloud K6 Cloud user or a app.k6.io cloud user, and we'll present you the correct output here. So yeah, this test is running. We can watch the test as it runs in real time. Again, if you're familiar with K6 Cloud at all, you probably notice these patterns are very similar. We want to give that same experience. We thought and we believe that, hey, we do a really good job with being a bit opinionated with what's the most important thing to look at when you run a performance test. We've been doing it a long time, and we recreate a lot of that in here. I have metadata about the test, who started the test, our performance overview, where we can see kind of those initial signals of what's going on, how many virtual users are in this test, request rate, response time, failure rate, if any. You can see how that trends over time. Scrolling down again, more scenarios. If we're using scenarios, I have one scenario in this test. I also have a setup function, so that request goes into this default scenario. And then all of our good metrics below in the tables, HTTP requests, checks, thresholds. And just like the current version of, or gotta stop saying that, the legacy version of K6 Cloud, we can drill down into these different metrics that we're creating. I can look at this endpoint, my API endpoint that I wanted to test with to begin with. I can see how many times I've requested it in this test, response time details. We can expand, change the metric that we're looking at. Maybe we want to see the request rate over time. 25 requests per second. I didn't explain the options, but that's exactly what I was aiming for. Maybe we want response time percentiles and see how that changes. And I think where the magic really starts to come in is, all right, performance testing and Grafana Cloud K6 here is really good at telling us, are things broken? Or are they not broken? Are we getting any hints from kind of what we're doing? Of course, easier if we set a threshold that fails, that, hey, it might be broken, but we get that initial sense of what's going on. Where the power really comes is where you could say, hey, maybe there's something interesting in this endpoint that I'm requesting. And I can come into Explore with Grafana and start to combine this with other metrics that I'm already collecting in Grafana from the system under test. I could copy the data here and bring it over to another dashboard. So start to combine my performance test results with my observability data that Grafana already has and collects for me. I feel like I'm speaking a mile a minute, so let me pause for all you.
Yeah, I have some questions about how to get this link to K6 Cloud.
Get this linked?
Get your Grafana Cloud linked with K6 Cloud.
Right, so you just sign up for Grafana Cloud, and K6 it's right here in the menu. And when you start testing in here, we take care of all that stuff on on our side to initialize everything. If you're asking, what do I do if I'm an existing K6 Cloud customer and I want to use this, that's a more complex question to answer. We haven't started migrations yet on that, and I guess maybe let's save that for a moment later to talk about.
Sure. So this is effectively, it looks like a lot of the things that are on K6 Cloud already. It's just that you can start tests from Grafana Cloud itself.
Yep. It's a native experience of the cloud service we've been providing for years, just inside Grafana.
Cool. Is there anything that is on K6 Cloud? I don't know if this is a Simon question. What is on K6 Cloud that isn't yet in Grafana Cloud?
Yeah, so for those people who have been using K6 Cloud app, it's pretty kind of complicated or complex and feature-rich application that lets a user do many things. And so in building this app for Grafana, we've had to, well, since we've done it in a fairly short amount of time, we've had to kind of prioritize on the things that are like immediately used and most used by users. So it doesn't have all the features that the K6 Cloud app has at this point, but it focuses on kind of enabling users to use different means of test authoring. So supporting kind of the most advanced users in kind of using their local environment for creating tests, like Mark showed, running it locally, streaming results to cloud, running those local tests in cloud, but also supporting kind of users and customers that aren't familiar with JavaScript and the K6 API. So we have this graphical kind of user interface, which we call the test builder, which is a point-and-click UI for creating performance tests, and also is a good way of kind of exploring the APIs, because the things that you add in the UI, it generates a K6 JavaScript, right? So you can at any point in time look at that.
Maybe we can actually show that. I didn't plan this, but how about we go through what a new user would do? Because I like to see both Mark and, and Simon freak out. Hope it works. So this is not my Grafana account. So this is just me signing up on my personal account, and there's nothing on here. And so I'm just going to go into performance testing here. Nice little overview of how K6 works, and I'll click start testing. So I don't have any tests created. Let's say I don't know how to write the script like Mark had. So this is what Mark showed about installing K6 locally and running it from the CLI, but I'm going to skip that and go to test builder. So this is an entirely new test, and there's some options here for what to do. The first thing is to add some sort of request, I think, and I'm just going to say home. And let's just use our test site. And then it's a little bit small because my screen is smaller for sharing, but I'm going to add a sleep, and I'm just going to choose the default one. Anything else that I need to do here? I think that's probably fine. And we can go into the script that way as well, but we don't really need that. What did you say? Sorry?
No, I was just going to say that you can click the toggle button right to the right to view the script at any point in time, just to explore. Like, so this is what I was talking about for test builder being a good kind of means of exploring the K6 APIs. So like in the test builder, you can add your requests, right? And you can change the kind of the load configuration and define your test pass-fail criteria with the thresholds, and then see here with a toggle button what it generates behind the scenes, right?
Yeah.
I use the test builder sometimes just because I can't remember the exact syntax for scenarios, for example, or doing some load profiles and things like that, and it saves me time there. Or if I need to mock up a quick test for some reason, it's sometimes just quicker as a way to kind of create that initial foundation, and then I can go in and know, okay, I need to deal with some type of token from a response.
Mm.
It's also just faster, I think. Like if you just want to quickly hit an endpoint, it's just nice to be able to do it from here. So I think since I'm on the free one, I'm going to reduce this. I don't think I can run for very long. And you can add new stages, which is really cool as well. And it's all whatever changes you make on the test builder are going to be reflected in the script. So if you flip back here, before it was 20 and now it's 3 as well. So I'm just going to go create and run and hope that it works.
Yeah.
So I didn't create a K6 Cloud account for this one. This isn't hooked up to my normal K6 Cloud account. This is just, I guess it's creating an account specifically tied to my Grafana Cloud account. Is that right?
Yeah, we kind of abstract that account creation away from you, so you don't have to worry about it. We're just a back end that will work with Grafana Cloud. So we take care of everything necessary for the services our teams are building and maintaining.
So if I create a test through Grafana Cloud, will I then be able to log into K6 Cloud, or does it not work that way?
So, like I mentioned a couple of minutes ago, we haven't reached feature parity yet with the K6 Cloud app. So what we've done is we do provide links over to the legacy cloud app. So like directly from this UI, you could go into settings, for example, jump over to K6 Cloud and well, complete those things that you would maybe wish to set up, but we haven't yet implemented them in this UI right here. So yeah, you can jump over to the other app if you want.
Okay, cool. So it looks like our test is being executed here, and that was really simple because I was a fresh user with nothing at all. And I'm also running this on the free plan. Mark, can you talk about what is included with the free plan? Should I expect this to stop at any second now?
Well, it'll stop when your test ends. Yeah, free forever tier of Grafana Cloud. We're providing 500 virtual user hours. And you can use them every single month. So you can use them for whatever you want. If you have a small project, or maybe you're just getting started with K6 and I don't know, you're the only person on your team. You want to set up a test in CI just to hammer it quickly. Could be a perfect way to get started. You get all the kind of major features of Grafana Cloud K6 and should be enough to get some use out of it.
Okay, we have a question from Marie. I haven't tried it myself, but will the K6 browser recorder extension work with Grafana Cloud K6?
That's a good question, Marie. And currently, no. But we do work on bringing in a browser extension for users to be able to kind of do recordings and have those land in the Grafana Cloud K6. So that's something that we're actively working on.
Okay, so you talked about not having feature parity yet. Are there any big standouts in terms of what's not on Grafana Cloud K6 that people might miss?
Yeah, we do have. I mean, we have a couple of things really, but some things that exist in Grafana kind of cancel out the feature that is in K6 Cloud. So, for example, in K6 Cloud, we have a like in the test results, you can jump into a tab which is called the analysis tab, and this is kind of a canvas for the user to kind of plot out and visualize metrics that were generated in your test. And this is essentially like a Grafana dashboard, right? So obviously we haven't implemented a embedded Grafana dashboard in Grafana. So what we do instead in the Grafana app is that we allow a user to query test metrics from Grafana Explorer, and also if you open up the Grafana app, you're going to see that there are this ellipsis kebab menu on each chart that you see here, which when clicked, you see that it says Explore. So you can quickly jump into Explore, see the metrics here that were generated from this test run, and also bring in other metrics which you might be interested in, maybe custom metrics that you're defining in your test script. You could split the view here and correlate the testing data with observability data, which is really powerful. And then you could save this even if you want to, and render it in a dashboard as well.
I actually have a decent example of a dashboard that Tom from our field engineering team put together. That combines case.
Do you have it handy to show?
Oh, I'm on. So, right, I'm starting collapse purposely because it can be a lot of information. This is a very, very built out dashboard. So we're taking some things from K6 tests and we're including it here. So test overview. These are metrics directly from a K6 test that was run at this date and time. So similar to what you see in the K6 test result, you can see, hey, how many requests per second, number of virtual users. You could start to do stuff like toggle them all on or off, looking for patterns, whatever it may be. We have our test logs, data about our test overview. And in this example here, we're going through a checkout service. So we start to pull in metrics from that checkout service. And digging deeper, we also have metrics on this app this demo app that we're testing from the clusters, container CPU usage, node CPU usage. We can see how that's changing over time. And we can start to see, okay, I started to run my test, CPU on the container and the nodes going up. We had 50 running pods, 77 containers, and don't delete that. And we can kind of just keep digging down into all the data. What interesting traces exist? What logs exist for our checkout service? So you can really start to combine the results of, hey, this is what happened during my test. I can see I clearly had failures pop up, response time rising, something's broken. What do I do next? Now I'm no longer performance testing. I'm investigating a performance issue. And it's going to take me some amount of time to resolve that, and speeding up the amount of time that someone may spend investigating these issues, trying to figure out what caused it. That's what we really want to drive down, kind of help get to the resolution as quickly as possible.
Yeah, so the power, right, is like bringing in the metrics measured from the outside in your performance test together with the metrics and logs and traces generated on the inside of the system under test, right?
Yep.
Yeah, this is one of the best things about it. I think that Grafana and K6 getting together in the first place, like us being acquired, made so much sense because the testing tool always generates a lot of data, and Grafana is really good at data. But then being able to visualize that data isn't great unless you have something to generate it. So this just makes a lot of there's a lot of overlap there that we've always wanted to explore. So first we had the data source plugin, then we had an app that you still had to install in Grafana Cloud, and then now K6 is just part of Grafana, like at least Grafana Cloud. It's just always there for everybody. And Mark, can we talk a little bit more about pricing?
Sure. What do you want to know?
How is that going to work? You said 500 virtual user hours. Can you talk a bit about what a virtual user hour is?
Yeah, so we wanted to we used to have on the legacy app and that we used to sell based off of kind of test runs, and it was always it always felt clunky and confusing, and it was really hard for a lot of customers to work with that. All right, I need to predict my usage for the entire year, that we're going to run I don't know, 3,000 tests up to a certain number of virtual users for a certain duration. And what we found, what customers kind of thought on January 1 maybe would be different all of a sudden on April 1st or July 1st or whatever it may be. And then they're coming back to us to talk to us. All right, we need to make changes. And that helped kind of drive us to no, we're gonna change this because we want to be more flexible for customers, and that's how we landed at virtual user hours. And kind of no surprise, it's where a lot of the industry is at. They have that concept. And we've been, for our contracted customers, so enterprise customers, whatever you want to call it, the kind of contract with us, they've been purchasing K6 on with virtual user hours for over a year now. And for the most part, they enjoy it. They like it. It's flexible, takes a lot of that extra thinking out of it. And now with Grafana Cloud K6, we're kind of bringing that same structure to self-service. So we're saying, run what you need, because we don't want to stop you from running a test, and kind of consume, and we're going to charge you based on kind of what you're consuming. And the simple way to kind of look at a virtual user hour, it's a virtual user that runs for any part of 1 hour, and we round up. Tried to keep it simple in that regard. We kind of made our price aggressive and competitive to make up for the cases where someone might run for only 10, 15 minutes. And yeah, for the most part, I guess people enjoy it. It's easier for them to work with. They can say, all right, now I need to run a 10,000 virtual user test. And then next I'm going to run a 5 virtual user test for whatever reason. And they kind of know exactly what that's going to consume from their subscription.
Yeah, and I also like that, just showing my screen again here, you can see how many virtual user hours you used up in any run. So here, right, because I ran 3 virtual users, just want to call out that even though it ran for only 6 minutes, you might think that it would be less than an hour. But as Mark said, we do round up for simplicity. So it says that 3 virtual user hours was used up. Simon, can you tell us a bit about the technical obstacles or limitations or anything, any issues that you faced when the team was implementing this?
Mm. All right. Yeah. We've built the K6 Cloud app, right? It's web technology. Building this app was also web technology. I think the biggest challenges for us has been kind of taking this advanced feature-rich app, like build that in a short amount of time in Grafana, and also translating the K6 design and the K6 UX, adapt that for Grafana UX and design language. That has been probably the biggest challenge that we faced. And yeah, another kind of challenge that we faced is like the other app that we built, the K6 Cloud app, we built it fully, like we built it before we got acquired, right? So we were a small, tight team. We knew kind of everybody on K6. So now, obviously, when we built this new app in Grafana Tech, Grafana is a huge organization. Many different teams have many different responsibilities. Like collaborating and kind of figuring out together, coming together to solve this common goal and figuring out how to do the integrations and whatnot. It's also been challenging, right? Working with people across different time zones and whatnot. So like the actual kind of execution and building the UIs, it's web technology, and we've already solved those problems in K6 Cloud App. So it hasn't been any kind of big surprises on kind of the technical aspects. Obviously, integration is always hard, right? Integrating kind of one system into another system's kind of authentication and user mapping and object hierarchy. Those things have been challenging as well, but we've come together with the rest of Grafana and solved those things together.
I'm just kind of going back and forth between the two because it does look significantly different. And I imagine that, like, because on the front end team, you can really change any part of how this looks. And like you said, you already know who to ask and who needs to work on what. But to go to here, I imagine that there's a lot less that you can change, or at least change quickly, because there are whole teams that are responsible for every part of it.
Yeah, I mean, so just looking at the screen, right? The team that built kind of the K6 app, we've been working mostly in the thing that you see like in the center here, right? But it runs in the Grafana instance, right? Which also has many different applications, and it has kind of the shell around what's being rendered here in the middle. So just looking at the screen, there are like plenty teams involved in getting this up and running here, not just the K6 frontend team. Yeah.
Also, it's not as purple as the other one. What's up with that?
But there is a dark mode.
There is a dark mode.
That is true. Yeah. Dark mode. But maybe you could change this yellow one so that it shows up as purple by default.
Yeah, maybe we could have a light theme that looks like the K6 Cloud theme.
Yeah, that would be like a nice little nod.
Yeah.
So how do you feel about the launch so far? Oh, that we already have someone saying, is there a light mode for Grafana? It's funny because we usually hear the opposite. Like, is there a dark mode for K6?
There is a light theme for Grafana. You just go into your settings in your stack and or in your instance, and then you can change it.
There you go. I've never done that because why would I want a light theme?
Right. So you're one of the correct people.
Apparently Pablo also wants light mode.
Yeah, I also want light mode personally.
Wow, okay.
I'm gonna draw a divide internally on light versus
dark mode. It's a little bit
mode.
more. It's like easier for the eyes, I think.
All over again, except for actual work-related things. Mark, can we talk about K6 Cloud versus Grafana Cloud? What's the deal here now? What's happening with K6 Cloud? It seems like it's being like some flows might skip it entirely. People might not ever need to know that there's an app.k6.io.
Yeah, that's kind of the intent, that people signing up to use K6 through Grafana Cloud, they won't ever need to know that app.k6.io is a thing, that they can go through all their kind of core flows, which we worked on for the launch, as well as those kind of secondary ones, that they're able to kind of get all the value they need out of a SaaS performance testing tool right within Grafana Cloud. And I guess the other side of that question is, right, what about app.k6.io? I mean, I guess it's no secret it's not going to exist forever, but right now it's kind of staying as is. We're gonna maintain it, and customers already on it, they're gonna be able to use it. We don't have any timeline in place now to say, no, you have to move or migrate. We're going to make sure we kind of handle that carefully, because we don't want to break people's workflows and how they're used to working too much, because that's painful. Kind of when people have already asked that I've already heard from people that they're interested in moving to Grafana Cloud, which is awesome. So we'll probably work with a few of them manually and kind of handhold to see what a migration would look like. And then once we have details on how people can migrate, we'll get all that taken care of. But that's some time away.
I imagine it won't happen until we at least reach 100% feature parity.
So, I mean, I'm glad you say 100% feature parity, because other people come to me and ask about that. The intent isn't just 100% feature parity. The intent is that Grafana Cloud is going to, K6 being in Grafana Cloud is making it better than app.k6.io. that we port the core features, all the important ones. Maybe we lose some features that, we had in there and we just were, we didn't want to deprecate for whatever reason. And then we make it even better by being part of Grafana Cloud. You can kind of see a hint of this. If you go back to ObsCon last year, we presented this integration with Tempo. That's something that will be built out in Grafana Cloud K6, but not in app.k6.io. Why? Well, your traces are already in Grafana Cloud. We're not going to pull data back. So we'll build out the front end and the experience for people that want to combine those two products in Grafana Cloud. And that's where we're making things better.
And then what about K6 OSS? Is there any effect to K6 OSS? Will people need to sign up or something to be able to use it?
No, you've never needed to sign up for K6 open source, and that's not changing. You can use K6 open source, break whatever you want. Go for it. Go find new ways to do testing and tell us about it. Like there's so much stuff that the community does, and they come to our sales teams, and I hear about it. And they're like, "We want to do this type of testing." I'm like, "That's a good idea, but Grafana Cloud K6 is performance testing, so that's what." If you want to do performance testing, we could sell you that. If you want to do this other type of testing, let's hear more about that and talk to you. But we don't have a commercial product for that yet.
And what about the other stuff, the other iterations of Grafana Cloud K6? Like, what about the K6 data source and then the Grafana K6 Cloud app?
Yes.
Are those going away, or are we still using that for some cases?
So customers already using the previous iterations of our plugins, they're still going to continue to work. Like if they have it installed in their instances, they're still going to be runnable as is. But we're not maintaining it. We're not pushing any updates. We've removed it from the kind of the public plugin listing. But yeah, it won't break anyone's workflows. It will continue to work, but it's deprecated, right? Fully focused on this this new kind of Grafana Cloud K6 and bringing that kind of to the potential it can be combined with other Grafana tech, right? Yeah.
So as an existing user of K6 Cloud, what if I want to maybe not necessarily fully migrate, but what if I want to see what it's like on the other side? How would I go about getting that set up?
Like just testing it out and nothing more. I mean, you
Yeah, I
could create
mean,
a
I like options, Mark. So I want
yeah.
it in K6 Cloud and in Grafana Cloud. How do I do that? Because the term migration, it sounds kind of final. What if I want to do both?
Maybe
Right. So
start with the go ahead.
yeah, I was gonna say if you just want to check it out, I mean, Grafana Cloud has a free forever tier. Sign up with your personal Gmail, Yahoo, whatever you use, and go take it for a spin.
Yahoo?
Yeah. There's
But is
like
there a
3 of
way
you.
to link them? Like I'm thinking about the previous K6 Cloud app for Grafana, where I could just put in my API token and then see all of the runs that I've already executed on K6 Cloud in Grafana Cloud. Now, is that not possible with this latest iteration? Should I be using the previous one instead?
Yeah, so there are problems with this approach, right? Linking one API token to the previous app, it meant that everybody using the plugin was generating traffic from this one API token, right? So there wasn't any potential for leveraging kind of RBAC or any kind of roles. And it also involved all of these different steps and kind of manual steps for getting up and running. So for the sake of simplicity and making it simple to get up and running in just one button click, this is the path forward. There is no linking.
Also security. You don't want everyone using the same API token because you don't know who's doing what. So I guess the simple answer is no. You can't just take your API token from app.k6.io and plug it into Grafana Cloud K6 somewhere. If you're just exploring, start with a free forever account and check it out. And then if you're really eager to migrate, I don't want to say migrate, to start using Grafana Cloud K6 instead of app.k6.io, chat with us. And we're going to be looking into how we can make this as simple as possible for people. Come across some cases already where, hey, they didn't have a lot of data in app.k6.io. So it was kind of like, let's just forget that exists and we'll start fresh with Grafana Cloud. But there's going to be a lot of different cases, I feel, with this. And again, we want to be thoughtful and careful in how we approach, which is why app.k6.io is going to stick around for a bit.
Why do you say app.k6.io and not K6 Cloud?
Just to be very clear on what I'm talking about.
Okay, I was just curious. Is there anything you can share about adoption figures? Because it's no secret that this is definitely one of the intended effects of this is that it's going to be a lot easier for people to start using K6. You know, people who might not necessarily have wanted to sign up for an entirely new platform just to run a quick performance test. Now you don't have to sign up for anything. So how are people liking it?
Yeah, can't give exact adoption figures because I'm sure someone else would be like, "Hey, Mark, what are you doing? We gotta delete these office hours." I'll say this: last week we had a silent release, so this has been live for over a week in Grafana Cloud, and with just Grafana Cloud K6 being there in the menu, people started to use it. They found it on their own organically, and they started to run tests right away. All kind of up and down from new free users to our existing contracted customers. They started to use it. They started to talk to us saying, "Hey, this is great." When we look at like launch data and how many signups we got on Tuesday when we made the announcement and put all the blog posts out, a lot of things happened that day. We got even more users compared to the previous week. And the general sentiment I've gotten from people is this looks great. We really like this. Even a few customers saying we couldn't use app.k6.io previously, or we didn't want to because it was a separate app, and we didn't want to introduce that into our workflow, that we have to go somewhere else. But now that it's part of Grafana Cloud, they're saying this is great. Let's talk about how we can use this now. I'm already an open source user. Now I want to leverage what you have.
Sometimes I think that there is a false dichotomy that is struck between observability and testing or performance testing. People think like, why do I need to run a performance test? I can just, instrument everything and just watch production and I don't need to run any test. Well, now you don't have to choose. I think there's definitely valid reasons for both. I think ideally you'd still have both. It's not a case that you would have performance without observability, but in the same way, like having an environment observable doesn't let you see things before they reach production. Like being able to run performance tests in non-production environments is also useful. It doesn't give you it's not like a one for one thing that something that results that you see in a test environment are going to look like the results in production, but it is a way of shifting left and being able to spot those issues faster. So I don't see why you wouldn't do both.
Yeah, I like to take kind of that comment extreme in the other direction. And I mean, the reality that the utopia that's unachievable. If you do testing so perfect, so well, why do you even need observability? Unrealistic, could never happen. But I guess the point is in saying something like that is testing and observability need each other. They complement each other so well.
What about the future plans for Grafana Cloud K6? What do you want to add? It sounds like there won't be any more new features that are developed for K6 Cloud, or am I just reading the air here?
yeah, so app.k6.io, we'll maintain it. We're going to make sure it works. I mean, maybe it gets a little feature here and there based on what may make sense, but our development efforts are going to be focused on Grafana Cloud K6 and building out things there, making it the 100% experience and then some. And there's a lot of interest and a lot of discussions right now on how can we work with other Grafana products even better. The integration with Tempo is probably the closest thing that you'll see later this year that we have experience built out there. But then also working with the other teams. What else can we do? How can we combine how people work with any of the other Grafana products and K6? How can we find novel ways to present the data and give people value?
We also have a question here from Sivaganesh Sivakumar. Is there a plan to improve the current integration with open source Grafana? I actually, I can take this one because I mentioned earlier that at acquisition, we had a looser integration with Prometheus Remote, right? Through OSS. You had to output K6 results to Telegraph and then forward the results to Prometheus. But now there's actually a way easier way because there's an experimental module. It's experimental in that it is still being tested, but it does already work. I'm going to post a link in the chat to that. But K6 can output results in the right format now. So, I mean, I know you asked about Grafana OSS instead of Prometheus, but usually a lot of people use Prometheus and Grafana together. We have another question from Sopanar Christina. Can we correlate the data from StatsD and K6 under the same view in Grafana Cloud?
Yeah, I mean, I assume StatsD has some type of there's some way to get that data from StatsD into Grafana Cloud, and K6 Grafana Cloud K6 has that data available from a performance test. So yeah, that should be possible. You should be able to combine those on a single dashboard.
Yeah, pretty much. That's the benefit of it. Like with K6 Cloud, you could only see K6 results, but anything that can go into Grafana, almost any data source, really, you can compare them side by side, and that's no problem at all. So yes, you can do that. Is the answer. Simon, what are the next features that you're looking to bring over to Grafana Cloud K6?
Yeah. So one of the questions that we had earlier, which was from Marie about the kind of the
Oh, sorry. Yes.
browser recorder
Let me
extension.
put that up.
Yeah. So that's one of the things that we kind of intend to bring in as a different means of kind of bootstrapping your test authoring. We're also going to bring in ways to kind of schedule tests to run them at an interval that you've defined yourself. Yeah, we're going to be working on kind of unlocking, I guess, querying other types of test data as well from Grafana Explorer. So being able to kind of query execution logs from Grafana Explorer and to display other types of test data in your dashboard. So like listing your threshold, for example. So what we currently support now is displaying time series data. So that's another thing. What else? Notification systems, being able to kind of send out emails or Slack messages or any type of webhook integration when your tests are failing or aborting by status. Yeah.
Maybe
Like
worth mentioning. This isn't a porting thing, but we're also working on support for K6 browser in Grafana Cloud K6.
Yeah. So that's pretty
I
much,
can't
right?
wait for that.
Yeah. So
So
both. Yeah. Go ahead.
Go on.
No, I was just going to say that's the XK6 browser kind of capabilities in Grafana Cloud and also the tempo tracing integration. Those are kind of two huge features, powerful features that we're going to be kind of bringing in over the coming year or during this year.
So if people want to learn more about Grafana Cloud K6 or try it out, where should they go? What should they do?
Grafana.com and sign up for a Grafana Cloud account.
This is the direct link as well. And if you'd like to learn more, just like read the docs about how to use it and just like go through a tutorial, you can go here to the docs. And this is written by our awesome technical writer, Matt Dodson. Put in a lot of work around that as well. So thank you both for coming on and talking about this. I'm super excited about this. And I think it bodes well for just the future of Grafana and K6 together.
Yeah. Thanks so much for having us.
Yeah. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time on Office Hours. Have a good weekend, everybody.